Okay. So the first question asked us to define the products for Marvel. So what did you guys think on this?
So they're involved in publishing, toys, licensing. Those are the main areas. Some areas they assist, but some they don't. Some they're primarily responsible for.
I would feel, I guess, the comic books and toys are probably their biggest products, like as physical products. And I guess you could argue that there is some sort of a mix of convenience and shopping goods, because I guess in some cases you can compare toys among other toys that are on the shelf. And the convenience is that they're low cost. You know, if you have a child, you can buy a lot of them. But I don't see you buying the same one of the same character multiple times, right? But I guess it is possible. The licensing part of it, I feel, is more like a service, because they have like a level of consulting that they do with their licensees, deciding creative. They have creative control basically on the characters, because they have the know-how of each character.
Yeah, I thought that I broke it into two different types of products. There was like the Marvel-owned products, and then their licensing. So the Marvel-owned, yeah, I agree with you, Hank, that they were more of the physical goods, because they included the comic books and the toys. And then the licensing side, those could kind of be looked at goods and services, because they were providing their service, like you said, for any of the movie production, all the media, and then also the consumer licensing. But part of that was goods as well. So that's kind of how I was looking at the different product types.
Yeah, and Sineo, I guess, I can't really pronounce the individual's name that we're interviewing. But he even said toward the end of the article that Marvel creates content in two areas, which are the comic books and the toys. The rest are services in which they assist with. So when the publishing or the movie companies go out and actually make movies on the different characters, they give a lot of leeway to those companies. So Marvel doesn't have as much control over what takes place. So they're just assisting in that service, kind of.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
So then I guess we can look at the next question. How important are each of Marvel's three divisions, comic books, toys, and licensing, to its past and future performance?
For me, it looks like we're all on the same page on this. Comic books and the toys are really important, especially comic books are really important from the past. That's where they kind of laid their groundwork. That's where they built their foundation, and then everything else was built on top of that, where they developed their characters in the comic books. For me, it looks like the licensing is probably going to be where most of the future growth is going to be, especially with, licensing the characters for movie development and toys. That's not necessarily their area of expertise, but it could be argued whether or not they want to expand that area of expertise into those areas, like develop their own movies. But
yeah, I kind of agreed that the comic books, it's really important to their past performance, obviously, because that's what started their brand. Without the comics book, there wouldn't be a Marvel brand. And then the toys kind of bounced off that when they got into the toy business, because they were furthering their brand by introducing younger children to the Marvel industry. And then again, the licensing, I thought that was really important to the future growth, because we're in a day and age where kind of that movies and media is really important to the mass market. And so if they can expand that business further, it gets more attention to their brand, and it kind of goes full circle back to the comic books and makes their original product more popular.
Yeah, and I kind of ranked them overall 1 through 3, if you will, and put comic books first, because that kind of establishes their brand and developed the market in the beginning. Because in the beginning, it was just the comic books, right? There weren't toys or videos. And I actually put licensing as second as far as importance, just because that allows them to develop their market, to develop the revenue. Without the licensing, they wouldn't be able to create a market for the toys to sell. And the licensing is also going to allow them to develop that new market for the lesser known characters, if you will. And then I put toys as third as far as importance for revenue, and kind of felt that was equivalent for both past and future performance.
Yeah, it's all the points that you guys made. I definitely agree with, especially coordinating with the toys. It's they start out as younger, like 6, 7, introduced to these characters with these toy products, and then they would transition into hopefully the comic books because they can actually see the value in reading these books and kind of getting the entertainment value out of it. Then, of course, licensing is probably the biggest. If they can hit a whole bunch of different things like food products. I mean, there's Spider-Man like snacks, right? There's a bunch of different markets that they can target and hit with the licensing. But I do agree. I think they're all important, equally important in their own right. But definitely comic books, because it got the ball rolling at least, and so they kind of built on those books and then evolved from there and kind of made it to a target market that we would see attractive now as opposed to like the 30s, right? So it's kind of a give and take a little bit, but I think they all work well together.
Yeah, Hank, you brought up something good. They're all like almost equally important, and I completely agree with that. I think that you look at the different target segments for each of these, and the toys targets the younger segment, the comic books, it's more the teenager, young adult, and then the licensing, which gets more into the media production, is kind of overall it targets the mass market. So I think it's really important that they continue to grow each of these because they all target a different age group and demographic.
I definitely agree.
Okay, we'll go on to the third question. So, to what extent is Marvel's success due to only one character, Spider-Man? How, if at all, should Marvel develop its lesser-known characters?
Well, it's obvious that Spider-Man was a success for them. I mean, if you look at all the numbers, across the board, Spider-Man really helped them become a successful company. But I think if you dig deeper into what made it successful, I think it was probably because of the way they developed the character. The character had flaws and made the character more relatable to a larger segment of the market. And I think we all kind of agree with that in our analysis. And Courtney, you had mentioned something. I won't steal your thunder. Using Spider-Man, using that success as a test case for the other characters and expanding that same philosophy.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that Spider-Man, if anything, of course they were really successful, but I think Marvel should look at it more as a baseline for how to market their other products. There's no reason that they couldn't try to have the same success with some of the lesser known characters. And then Hank, I was looking at your analysis. I completely agree that they should maybe look at introducing some of the newer characters into the more popular superheroes storylines. I think it kind of gives them a platform for introducing the lesser known characters, and they can further those brands and not just have one specific brand of Spider-Man, but it's more Marvel universe.
You can go ahead.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I don't have any other comments. What do you guys?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think you hit them all really. I don't think we can expand on it some more if you'd like to, but yeah, I think it would be interesting to see different characters, within a Spider-Man TV show, or even a movie, and you introduce them that way. And if people are like, wow, this is something interesting, I kind of like where this is going, they can build a larger story if they want to with that character, and they kind of test it out in like regional markets, if you will, and see how that does from there. And then it might take off. You can cancel it without spending an extreme amount of money. So I think that's kind of where I was going with it.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. And I think that Spider-Man's success definitely allows them to have more of a low risk approach at introducing the lesser known characters. because of the high level of success. If they lost money per se on the lesser known characters without having to invest a lot of money in there, I think the success from Spider-Man would offset that. And one thing that I was thinking would be interesting to see is taking a different approach in which they use Spider-Man to kind of market the lesser-known characters. So kind of instead of introducing the lesser-known characters in the Spider-Man movies or comics, use him as almost an advertisement in which it shows potential in the lesser-known characters. Say there's a movie on the lesser-known character that features Spider-Man, may grab interest from people that are really big fans of Spider-Man.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I agree. So it sounds like we all agree that they should develop their lesser known characters.
Definitely.
So
Yes.
the last question. So in our view, what strategic direction should Marvel Enterprises Peter Quill pursue? Briefly, why and how?
So I think that segues really good into this question. So we all agree that they should diversify their portfolio. And I think a good example is develop and market like lead characters that are more diverse, like have more female leads, because they're missing that 50% segment right there. Yeah, so if they could target, those types of markets that they haven't targeted in the past, that could bring in more people into the Marvel universe. So that's my recommendation.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that answers the first point that the company was trying to make when they're trying to decide the two opposing strategies, whether to capitalize on just Spider-Man or to look at the lesser known characters, which I think we pretty much answered in the last question. But yeah, I like I said earlier, I think it's really looking at brand loyalty, not just one character. And you gave a great example, Casey, with maybe looking more at the women's segment. Maybe that's bringing that more into the market.
And they have thousands of characters to draw from. So
Yeah.
Right.
And I guess the second part, they were also trying to decide if they should continue to really invest in the licensing or should they be creating more of their own products? What were your guys' thoughts on that?
I guess I would say that I think that they do have the creative knowledge to do their own production of it, right? At the time being, I don't know if it would be smart for them to create their own movies. I would let somebody else do it and still, do the licensing aspect of it, just because they weren't, part of paying for the marketing service or marketing expenses or production expenses. And these are things that they probably hadn't considered or hadn't seen before, right? So they don't really know exactly how that would play on their bottom line. So because that stuff can get really expensive. I guess they said it was like, I don't know the exact number, but it was a large amount in expenses for these production companies. But I think for now, licensing would be a smart move. Once they get a little more capital, they can go ahead and contribute and do their own thing if they'd like to. But I think for now, it'd be safe just to kind of that.
Yeah, I would agree with that and say to stick to the licensing aspect and maybe just renegotiate the profit margins with those production companies and use a past experience and past performances as kind of a carrot, if you will, to renegotiate those profit margins.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, if you look at Exhibit 2, one of the largest areas of their operational costs, it wasn't operational costs, but licensing costs, they went from like 19.5 to 61.1. It was one of the largest increases in that class. So, we're almost at 15. Cool. But yeah, I'm totally with you. I think they need to look at that, analyze it closer, and renegotiate their licensing to account for those additional costs.
Yep, I agree. So I think that we're all in agreement with the strategy they should move forward with. Any further comments?
We're good.
Good.
All right.
Well, guys.